2 years on the Looking for Players table.
But it's one great game.
It's Role Player Adventures.
Welcome to WiscoDice. Hey yo folks, I am your host, the Conesy with the most, and I am joined today by...
Hey, I'm Suzanne, and today we have a special guest.
It's me. I'm Brian.
Hey Brian, how's it going,
Brian.
man?
Wonderful.
Alright, so today we're going to talk about Role Player Adventures. We just played through it. This is a campaign game that's produced from Thunderworks Games. But before folks go ahead and watch the rest of the review, what should they do?
Oh, you're going to love this review, so you should definitely smash that like button and also subscribe if you haven't already.
And don't forget to leave a comment down below whether you've played Role Player Adventures or not. We want to hear what you think of this game as well. Alright, with that, let's go ahead and get started with the review. Now, for our reviews, we typically go through it. We're going to talk about the theme of the game. We're going to talk about the components of the game. We're going to talk about the overall gameplay. Of course, this is a campaign game with a lot of reveals, so we're not going to try to give away anything from a spoilers perspective. Trying to help you make a decision if this is a game that's right for you.
I think we should tell him why Brian's here first.
Oh, yeah, sure.
I mean, he's not just lurking around and just sitting
we just found a person, right? So, Brian, why are you here? Besides the fact that we bribed you.
Well, I've known you for decades.
A few.
Multiple decades.
A couple.
And we've gamed for years, but I've recently moved near you. Again, I've moved nearby, and I always play board games with you, and I'm a big fan of playing various campaign games, and having played just regular game nights with you, you mentioned you wanted to do some campaign games. We've started a weekly campaign game, and Role Player Adventure was the first one on the dock.
Yeah, this is one that we're definitely has been sitting on the Looking for Players table for forever since we picked it up. It really needed to get off the Looking for Players table, but we really wanted to experience it with more than just the two of us playing it, so it was really good to be able to play it with 3 players. Not the full player complement, but we were able to play it with 3 players. It was a lot of fun. Spoilers, right, for the review, but yeah, let's go ahead now and dive into those components.
Well, I will say we wouldn't have played the whole thing if it wasn't fun.
No, and well, maybe. We played through some pretty bad legacy
Components.
games. All the way through. All
what
right.
do you got for components?
Lots of dice.
Lot of dice, yes.
Lots of colorful dice. If you played Role Player, it's the same kind of idea with the dice. Like the same kind of colors of dice. And
yeah, the dice. I mean, they're dice, right? They're different colored dice, or
you roll them.
You roll them and stuff, whatever. But they're dice. The dice are good. I like the dual layer boards were really good. I love the fact that the dual layer boards that came in the game, I didn't notice any real warpage with them, which is something that happens a lot of times. And the fact that our copy sat in a basement for 2+ years. And who knows how long on the game store shelf before we got it.
It had been there a while.
Yeah, it had been there a while. It was probably one of the very few, back before the reprint on Role Player Adventures, one of the very few copies of Role Player Adventures still sitting in probably a game store shelf. Thank you, Misty Mountain Games. Yeah, so that was good. I thought that was really good. Ton of cards, right?
I mean, the cards, I would say, the same quality of role player game itself. Obviously, you're playing scenarios, so there's each scenario has its own map as well. The artwork was really nice for those components. So that they put a lot of time and effort into making people. Whoever is the artist is for that game is very good.
Yeah.
So there's some of the scenarios they went from good to great. I would say they never phoned it in for any.
There was definitely one of those scenarios that I think we all were like, "Holy crap, that's just kind of wild!" And I'd love to play that one at a D&D game or a role-playing game. Take that map and turn it into an adventure because it was just kind of so cool and so different than kind of what everything else we had experienced up to that point.
Yeah. So this game is supposed to be designed so that you could replay it multiple times and go on, different paths in it, and so I thought the components were made well enough to hold up to multiple plays. I mean, if we played it multiple times and passed it on to another gaming group, they would be able to play it without ruining it.
And I think that's important because there's campaign games and there's campaign legacy games, and this is a campaign game that's replayable. Like when you play some campaign games, you play it and you just throw it in the trash and go, "That was amazing," and you set it on fire and you never think about it again. This game is easily
Do not set your games on fire, people.
Pandemic Legacy is a good example of that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to play through the Legacy game, and then when you're done at the end.
Done.
And I know a lot of Legacy games have tried to incorporate, like, here you can continue playing it when you're done.
Yep.
Like Clank
Does
Legacy, Sagrada Legacy does that.
Ticket to Ride.
Ticket to Ride Legacy did that. No
This game
spoilers
is just it's replayable, and you don't have to worry about. You can easily start over. Not a problem. The game is designed to be replayable without any sort of like lost components.
Yeah, the character sheets that you slide into your character board where you keep track of your stats, so like your dexterity, your charisma, that type of thing. I think that's the only place where I had a little issue with the components because the colors on there were not true to the colors of the dice and colors in some of the skill check books. So there was
one
a little
of the
bit
five
of an
was
issue.
off. I think
the
most of them are good,
purplish,
but there
the
was
purple
one.
and the blue on there were a little. They didn't quite. But my way to get around that was I just called them wisdom, intelligence, like that, so I could remember which colors we were doing. But I mean, overall, they're good.
hopefully that got addressed in the reprint.
Yes,
I don't
it
know.
possibly is, and you notice it before you even start playing. So.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, the books, there are little booklets for each of the scenarios that you play through. Each booklet basically, or each scenario has its own booklet. The booklets were
They're easy to read.
They're well put together.
Size,
The rules I thought were well put together. I didn't think it was hard to find rules when you're playing it if you needed to look something up.
Having played a lot of campaign and legacy games, sometimes it's a bit overwhelming when you're like, go to chapter 6, read verse 6, do this, do that. This game, the components were made well enough to sort through. It was never difficult because each had individual campaign books, and even the source book was organized very well. I was never confused. I played a few campaign games that were fun, but were confusing because there was just too many components and too many things that they went an extra level of complex.
Yeah,
and there was a player aid right in the game as well. I mean, I don't know that I referred to the player aid a whole lot after the initial couple of plays, but I found pretty much everything I needed to know on the player aid as well. So that was useful.
The attacks and the skill checks and everything. Yeah. So that was good. We did add in the backstory expansion that comes with it.
Nephra's Judgment, yeah.
So that had its own book, and it actually complemented the game and was very integrated very well that way. Again, the components are reusable for it, and I kind of do want to play it again so I can try a different backstory to give me a little insight. We use that expansion to build up the story of our characters.
Right. I mean,
yeah,
exactly.
But I guess that deviates a little bit from components. That's more of a.
So, well, I mean, that's a good transition though into theme. The theme of Role Player Adventures is going to be around this your fantasy adventurers, right? The classic party of adventurers that are going on various quests. There are 3 factions in the game that you're potentially getting influence in, or not getting influence and getting their disapproval, and based on your interactions with those factions and the outputs of each quest. Although I would say every quest, and we'll talk a little bit more about that maybe in gameplay, but like I think the output of the quest is more like the equipment and cards you get. The output of the campaign was definitely more based on how you interacted with the different factions, like narratively.
You still always went to the next location in story order, but your character's reasons for going and how they got there and what they wanted to do when they were there and how that location played out was different. So
I mean, I guess first, like, that kind of establishes the theme. I think the theme was really strong.
Well, and I think too, because when we were in the late game, we definitely had a theme where we were, obviously there was multiple, factions. We were definitely going strong in a certain direction, and in the way the game, we did things, it matched that. So the theme And I have to imagine if we would have gone other ways, the theme would have been as strong those other ways too. But it definitely felt all throughout. There's an overall story that was going on, which helps the theme. And also just the way the game played. If you're familiar with role player, it has a theme of role player baked into its core with some very interesting ways to make a campaign game. But yeah, no, it was I would say it's a good.
Yeah. I feel like I know a lot more, and I've been immersed more in this role player universe.
Yeah, the writing was very
go through
good.
the games.
I don't know who wrote, again, good artists and good writers.
Yeah. No, I thought that part was good. So when we get into the theme, I thought was good from a theme and immersion. I think we were all kind of feeling like.
Yeah.
Also
we got
at
into
the
our
table,
characters
like
too.
everybody really. You do have. It does take a bit of like. I would say, this game kind of drives you or wants you to drive towards being a little more in that role player bent, almost. I would say. Than like say a game like Frosthaven or Gloomhaven or Descent or Star Wars Imperial Assault. Like those, you get your character, and how much, like I know we've all played some of those. How much do you feel like you're into your character versus the way we were with Role Player Adventures?
Oh,
if I'm playing, I played the co-op of all those games, and I definitely feel more of the game. I mean, I would say maybe less in Gloomhaven because it was more about the mechanics. But like, I think it also like Star Wars that I played for real. I felt like they designed the characters well. That if you're playing whatever, you kind of feel like a smuggler. You're playing like you felt well.
I guess more into like the motivations of why I'm a character, which you like. I would choose things. We all I think started to choose things in Role Player Adventures while we were playing. That it felt like that we're far more like we're making character choices. And we're immersed in the story that's happening versus like any of those other games. I remember when we ran Imperial Assault. Like it was very much you guys were how do you beat me? And I was playing the Overlord in that in both of those games.
I will say I've only played. There's a co-op version of that game now too. It does flow a lot differently because I would agree that in the Overlord version it's much less about the story and how do I survive this. The co-op updated version, I think, had better theme. But I think if you're talking about the original, this game might have more than that.
I mean,
good theme for this though.
Not to go too much into Imperial Assault, but for me, I played a Wookiee in there, and I felt like I was a Wookiee. And and I'd run screaming into the rooms like that. So I would get into my character. There wasn't as much flavor text sometimes. Or it wasn't read, and I think that's what really helps role player get you in. And into the story and immerses it. The whole thing is, it's like we're gonna choose your own adventure. And then it's just like, it's all flavor text.
It was more immersive into the world than immersive into the character for me. Because the characters, like I was an elf wizard, but I didn't feel like I was doing wizardy things where someone else was like, you were a pal. I didn't feel like
you read the title like on your cards that you had, and the little bits of flavor text on them, sometimes I kind of felt like I was going, because I had all this ability to change, and manipulate in a certain way, and you had a whole different way of manipulating it.
But
to me seemed very wizardy.
The backstory added more because the expansion of backstory added classes, kind of, or not class, but it added alignment.
And
there's a title. We all had every time certain adventures we'd complete stories, and those are very thematic. They were all
like if you were an investigator
and there was like 4 parts to those, and that was very thematic. Like I was more attached to that element.
Yeah,
than I was attached to the character.
I would say my character was a paladin, and I did not feel like yes, I had the one healing ability that I started the game.
But beyond
you didn't I never really into a paladin. Yeah, I just the equipment cards that came up. It was deciding. I would say I was definitely more leaning towards game mechanics decisions when it was acquiring things. It was definitely not really. It didn't feel like there was a direction or I do this better because I'm a paladin. I never felt like hey I'm a mighty holy warrior or I have some quest or something like that, like as a character
All your-
class that might be go
That's
with.
true.
Yeah.
But every backstory moment when it happened, which was only every so often, you made choices that was your impact on the story, and then that kind of went in a path. So that was very thematic, and that was nice. And that
Nephra's judgment was definitely really cool from that perspective.
I'm glad the first time I played that was included. I think it elevated the game.
Yeah, well, I mean, and Nephra's Judgment, which is the expansion to Role Player Adventures, came out at the same time as Role Player Adventures, the base game. So they were clearly designed together to be used together, and it was. I'd have to go back and look at the original Kickstarter for Role Player Adventures to really know if that was part of the original plan, or if that I don't think it was a stretch goal. I think it was all part of the original plan, and probably had more to do with the fact that the Role Player Adventures box is huge, and getting that much more content into the box is big. Which it is a huge box. Getting back a little bit to the component size. It's a big box with really good organizers.
Really nice organizers. I love that in there.
But it's it's almost, I would, like, if we get into the gameplay, and before we get to our final thoughts and review and score on this, the gameplay, it was, every scenario is very much, if you've read a Choose Your Own Adventure book, it's very Choose Your Own Adventure book, with some game mechanics that help determine outcomes of the Choose Your Own Adventure. So the story is very linear, which I honestly is not something I'm super excited about when I play a game like this. I felt like I was a little too forced into the story arcs. Now I get, like, a lot of legacy games, like you make all these choices, like Frosthaven or Gloomhaven's a good example of this. Like, I feel like I have a bunch of decisions, but in reality I'm still going through kind of the same story arcs. Maybe I skip a few scenarios or something like that, but at least I feel like I have a choice on the path I go.
I think that game's wider. This game, I think the path is slightly narrower in a sense that you're always doing scenarios 1 through 11 in the exact same order.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think that, and this is in part to the writing, because of the different factions and because of the choices you made, and again, there's some other elements to talk about the gameplay. I do think that it is linear, but I do think it's kind of wide within that path, because it's like you're going in, there's multiple factions. You also might have alternate goals based on some of the things you've done. And there's like a little side missions throughout that you can impact various secondary characters, and those kind of come up again and again, and those can go completely different directions, which I thought was pretty interesting.
That was really cleverly done, right? He had those repeat, like, basically non-player characters from a D&D game, and I could really see the influence. Like, obviously, Role Player, the original Role Player game, is very much based on the character creation of a RPG character, the classic fantasy D&D type character that's very, very much like that. And so Role Player Adventures is definitely trying to encapsulate, I think, some of that role-playing experience, and it did that really well in a number of places, right? If you're sitting at an RPG table and the GM is explaining what you're seeing and what you're dealing with at a certain location, and then that location changes over the course of the mission or the scenario, or certain NPCs come up again. You're right, absolutely. I didn't think of that at all. But yeah, that was really cleverly done. And with the way you had, like, those title cards that would help the game kind of remember, and you would just go, okay, do you have these titles? Go to this section of the book.
And that, to me, was a big deal, because I played Feast of Odin.
Feast of Odin, yeah!
Love the game. There's a couple European campaign games where when you played it, we played it, and I beat it multiple times, but you had to have pages and pages and pages of notes. If you didn't take notes, you were going to lose. A fun game, I can't think of the name of it, but this game is, if you save Bob, you get a title, you save Bob, so later, or maybe you killed Bob, or maybe you stole from Bob, and then later on, you'll get one of 3 titles. And then later on, the game is like, okay, if you have this, do you have one of these titles?
You go down that
and then
path,
each of those have their own thing. So I don't have to write down what I did to Bob. I just have a card that reminds me, okay, I helped Bob, or I killed Bob, or you killed Bob, of course. But whatever you do with, whatever you do. So we had a stack of title cards. Maybe like this, that we had like 20 plus title cards, and as certain storylines came to conclusion, you would discard them. So once they had no more value, you wouldn't have to constantly keep them. But the title card was replacing note taking, which I thought was great. And it had a title, it had a little bit of an artwork, and if it was the same comparison, the artwork would kind of stay along the same path. It even told the story as well. So that was a very, very well done part of the game.
Yeah. So you have this way that you kind of are keeping track in the game. It's got, you know, a campaign log, which a lot have on there, but the campaign log is also part of your gameplay because you're always taking from it, adding to it, which was nice because it's not just having a piece of paper that's like over the side, oh shoot, where is it? Got to fill it out now. You're kind of filling it out as you go along. Same with like your characters. There's not too much to do at the end, but it's. I mean, one thing that we did not do was play the game role player first to create our characters. We use pre-generated characters in there.
Yeah.
And
yeah. So here's the thing: we've all played through it now once, and we were excited to get it started. Would you actually use the pre-gens, or would you want to go play role player to build your characters?
Only because I don't know how the pre-gens, how the make your own characters, how the items and stuff. Because when you create a character, when you take a pre-gen, it's to take these cards, which obviously every card is how it modifies. The whole point of the game is you roll some dice. You need like a red 5 or a blue 6 or whatever, and then the cards are like add a blue or change a 5 to a 6 or whatever. Just like role player, it's all about dice manipulation. You roll the entire game is you're doing stuff. You're rolling an X number of dice, and you need very specific results. And everyone has cards that manipulated. But I never felt that the classes themselves was that unique. But I would be fine either way. I would if they wanted to do the let's all make a character. That's so much more competitive. You're not cooperatively making characters. You're trying to make the best characters. So you're like, if 3 people were trying to make characters for the campaign, it would be a weirder game of role player because you're almost probably being friendlier because you're trying to let them buy that or let them do that. So it would be a weirder experience to me because you're not trying to win. You're trying to make everyone optimized in a certain way.
Speak for yourself. I'm gonna crush you all.
Well, and that's kind of what I would be doing too. I actually would like, since I've played through it once with the pre-generated characters, I would like to do it again with characters that I rolled up in that game that I kind of, picked certain, backstories or whatever for, and have this character I'm creating kind of almost like what you do in a D&D campaign, like a regular RPG campaign. So I've created this character, I've invested in this character, and then I just want to see how it goes. I wasn't sure, like, hey, is it, was I going to feel like we just have to get through this campaign as quick as we can, and as best as we can, and with as much loot, and no, it's, like, for me, the gameplay of this was very much choose your own adventure, and it was just kind of going through the story and experiencing the story. So, it was. So I would really kind of like to do that and have my own character and just see what happens and see what type of goofy character I had. I don't necessarily want a well-balanced character. I don't want us all to be well-balanced because what group of people are completely well-balanced? I don't pick my friends if they come, I'm this much crazy, so you can only be that much crazy and be friends with me.
Well, how does that work? I'm a lot crazy.
I know. See, that's why I don't definitely don't pick husbands that way.
I'm completely sane.
But you're playing legacy campaign games with us, so you're probably not. Anyways, all kidding aside, we are, I think, with role player adventures, I think we're all, from a gameplay perspective, I think personally the generating the characters ahead of time, like you would get better core stats.
Sure.
Which I think,
when we play,
like equipment was
next year when we get back to it, we'll give that a try.
Yeah, probably because we do have the
Next
brand
year's only
new
like
story
1 month.
expansion. So we will, which is like a prequel to, I think we'll find out in like a year from now, and then we'll probably come back and talk about that later. Here at WiscoDice, we rate all of these games we review on a scale of 1 to 10. Where 1 is yuck, we hated it, we didn't want to play it. But it's
visual. I gave the visual.
Yeah.
I'm like, ugh.
10 on the other hand, we're
woohoo!
It's the same scale. We would rate it on Board Game Geek. If anyone's out there familiar with that little site, I mean, who's heard of that, right? So, Suzanne, why don't you kick us off? Where did you think Role Player fits on that 1 to 10 scale?
So this was really tough for me because I love the Role Player universe.
Mm-hmm.
I love Thunderworks Games. I'm not a fan of Choose Your Own Adventure books. Like, never was. And it was a little bit too much Choose Your Own Adventure for me to really give it, like, a huge number here. But I'm going to give it a 6. I want to play this again. I want to create a character. I want to go through it again. It's an enjoyable game to play. But it's not my favorite campaign game yet. So...
All right. Well, Brian, where did you put it?
I'm gonna cheat just a little bit and just say I think it's good to note just for the rating is this is more of a light to medium campaign style. This is not the depth of a Frosthaven or a Gloomhaven.
No, definitely.
And that could be a good thing. Maybe you want to play a game where you like when we set up Frosthaven. It's a bit of work to get going. It's a bit of work when the mission is done. There's a lot more going on. And I think we'll be like that about Frosthaven. But if you want to, I also think that it's good to point out that this is light to medium, and that's not a bad or a good thing. It's just this is not super intense, which I think it could be a lot of people would be very positive. Mm-hmm. Overall, I would say I enjoyed it. I mean, we're probably going to play another campaign of it, so obviously we're not going to be like, but we're going to play it again. 2. No, I mean, I would give it a 7. Because I enjoyed it enough. My childhood was going to the library and reading Choose Your Own Adventure books. I had those series. I can't think of the big series back in the 80s when I was young, before most people were born, when that was a thing that I would read. But no, I would say a good solid 7. I liked it. It was 11 sessions. You knew it would be 11 sessions. And it wasn't deep and meaty, but it was good enough. It was enjoyable. I liked it. Good artwork. It didn't blow me away. If I were to rate my top 10 campaign games, it's not going to make the top 5. No. But it's going to stay in games that I enjoy. It's going to be, it was worth the time that I played it, and I'm glad that I played it.
Like, real quick before you say anything, Conesy, I'm going to say if you are out there looking for a family campaign game to play this winter or something, this is definitely a family-friendly campaign game.
I would. If I was giving it a rating based off of for people who aren't super thick in gaming, I would even bump it up a full number at least.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we rate these on our own feelings, right? Yeah. So, I'm gonna say that I agree with Ryan. I think this is a 7 for me. I'll definitely play it when I'm in the mood. Couple of things that I would kind of takeaways back, and I don't know. I'm not going to try to re-engineer how the gameplay was, but I kind of I know the adventure books were kind of taking the role of that GM role, and they were very cleverly done and well put together. And the arc and the story was great. It would have been very nice to have a couple of other missions that you only when you go to play through. That if you were going down, say, a certain arc, that you might have those missions instead.
Sure. To
kind of swap things out. It could still get you back to that same ending scenario, right? I mean, everything could come circular, but it would give you just that illusion of just a touch more choice.
Yeah. There could have been slightly more illusion, I would agree.
That would just that. You had a lot of choice, I thought, or some choice in this, even the STEM, once you got to solving the missions, we
went to
they
all
all
the same
solved
locations.
kind of the same.
Well,
we went to all the same locations. There
could have been a couple locations we aren't even aware of. There could have been a few. I mean,
we went to all the same maps.
Sure, but there was.
I think there were things on some of those maps that I think we didn't see in our play that we certainly could. And there are 3 different kind of big major story arc outcomes from it that you can go and explore.
But a full-on mission for special things.
Yeah, if you're really strong on this faction, you're going to do this mission instead of that, and just looked at the mission tracks and you just had a couple extra scenarios in there that were like that. Just would have made things a little more interesting and bring it back to making it so that if if somebody's playing the tanky warrior character, that they should feel like they're playing, like, hey, I'm playing the tanky warrior, I'm playing the fighter class. Why do I not care about things like armor and swords and stuff like that? But like I'm able to use spell scrolls, and why like scrolls that come up, like those maybe should have only been available to like the spellcaster classes. And I know that like mechanically that's probably hard to pull off in a game like this.
We always made choices on a game. If we were late game, we were like, oh man, we aren't doing great manipulating red dice. So we're like, okay, what cards manipulate red dice? Not, that was the number one priority. Not what not who would work better with it. It was, okay, we need to manipulate this color that we're terrible at, and we keep getting murdered because we can't do it.
Yeah. But I think overall, all of us, enjoyed this game. And we're all excited to play it again.
It was. We were all excited to play again, but we're also like, hey, we played 11 missions, and by the time we were playing the 11th one, we were like, I think we were. I can say that I know the two of us talked. I don't know if Brian, if you felt this way, but by the time we got to scenario 11, we were like, okay, this just needs to wrap up. But it did,
which was a key there. Because some games overstayed their welcome. This game kind of knew what it was, and then it stopped. It didn't be like, if this was the length of Frosthaven, we never would have completed it.
Which is one of my complaints about Frosthaven, actually, or in Gloomhaven, is that like it's almost too much, right? And I know some people are going to be like, oh no, it's like I just want more and I want more. Well, just buy more. Like you could just buy more expansions or expansion content for it. Mm-hmm. And I like the fact that like a game like that Gloomhaven or Frosthaven does include so much in one box, but like I'd like to be able to get to that story arc a little faster.
Well, I think that game, not to go too much,
without feeling like I'm missing a ton of content.
You almost end that game when you finish certain story arcs. You go, yeah, I'm happy with that story arc being complete, because you do get various arcs completing. But like this game there's one story arc and then that's it. That game is a bunch of story arcs, and if you want to go down every possible path to see its conclusion, it is an insane amount of games. I've always stopped around 30 or less games and felt completed, but it's still a long time. That's still way more than 11 games. This is 11 sessions.
This is totally manageable.
Yeah, it's manageable, which is
very manageable. You could do it in a weekend if you wanted to. If you're very dedicated, you could. I know people do Gloomhaven and other campaign games in a weekend.
Well, they're insane though, but that's different. You're insane.
But this one you can do. You can feel very comfortable doing it.
Am I supposed to call your audience insane?
I don't know.
All right, sorry.
I don't know. If you think Brian's insane, just let him know in the comments below.
Don't do that.
So.
Oh yeah, definitely do that. That's absolutely fine. But no, I overall I think we all are looking forward to playing it again. It is. One last thing I would say about it is kind of wrapping up my thoughts is the box is huge.
You're gonna see the box up there.
It's barely fits in the shelf.
It's it's about Gloomhaven size.
Yeah.
And for like,
it weighs more.
I think a lot of people, if you've played Gloomhaven and go, okay, that's what I get in a box that big. You don't get that in this box. You don't even get half of that, like length or gameplay or anything like that. So make sure that when you go into this, you know what you're getting and you're expecting. You're going to get what I would think is a more narrative during gameplay experience and a clear story arc from beginning to end, which is very nice.
But setting up, like the same size boxes with him, but man, the setup is so much faster, the finish is so much faster. It's organized. They did really well in the organization. When we play Frosthaven, we're digging through. Even though it's organized to some degree, you're still digging in.
So many.
So they mastered the space very well. And I think that deserves some credit, because I think some boxes are just chaos when you open them up. They know what they were doing here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
So,
and hopefully, like what I would really love to see, honestly, is like a product like Role Player Adventures start moving. Like the next time it has an expansion, just move it to digital. Just move the adventure books to digital, and I print the maps. Like I have all. If you buy the base game, I have all the other stuff. Just do that, and then you can just
sell some maps.
Yeah. Or if you do have physical components, you just sell the map maps. All everything else is just like PDFs or whatever, and you'd be able to have more content faster. I mean, so we see that so much in the RPG space. But
I think after the games are good
Yeah.
too and stuff. But if you have played Role Player Adventures, I'd love to really hear what you thought of it, and if your opinion differs from ours.
We'll
and also
fight you.
we probably won't, but maybe probably won't.
I
But
thought we said we were gonna fight him.
no,
Okay,
no,
sorry.
we didn't say that. I think.
All
I'm
right.
pretty sure.
Yeah.
Alright.
But anyway, and we love legacy and campaign games over here at WiscoDice. We almost always have one going.
Yeah, I mean, we just finished the
So-
Gret Artisans as well, the two of
Yep.
us, so we'll be probably talk about that
Yeah.
later.
I'm
So-
not mad I wasn't invited.
But yeah, so, and let us know other campaign games that you think we should check out that you really enjoy too. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And while you're at it, make sure you leave a comment down below, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Until next time, thanks for watching, folks. Bye. Hey there, it's Conesy. Thank you so much for watching. We put out videos weekly here at WiscoDice. Check out our channel for more great videos, and don't forget to subscribe. We also have more great content on our website at WiscoDice.com. Of course, we do this all for you, the viewers. So please like the video if you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.